Welcome everyone to another coffee tasting. Today we're featuring a special coffee by the Able Coffee Roasters. This is a really cool coffee company because they are dedicated to supplying jobs to those with autism and other disabilities. It is amazing that they're able to do that. And so later on in the stream, we're going to explore a little bit more about this company and how they are able to provide a work environment for people to learn and grow with disabilities. So those of you joining me in the coffee tasting for the first time, welcome. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. If you guys are returning, welcome back. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button yet, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That really helps me make this channel all that much more better, you guys. And then for those of you guys joining me for the first time, we like to brew our coffee 3 different ways on this channel so that we can get the different flavors from the different brew methods, but from the same cup of coffee. So the different brew methods allow for different amounts of sediments and different amount of oils to get through into your cup of coffee, and that's going to impact the flavor in different ways. So it might make for a darker cup of coffee or a lighter cup of coffee. It might help balance out the cup of coffee depending on the brew as well. So that's something that we do with our coffee tasting, is really explore the different notes and how it impacts that particular blend. So today we are trying the blend that's called the Bali Blue. And the Bali Blue blend is a Latin American blend, and it has notes of strawberry and also a milk chocolate finish. So the strawberry notes are just going to be like a more of a tame, acidic flavor. And then we're going to get those milk chocolate notes. I'm really excited for this coffee because it sounds really good. Not only does it sound really good, but it is roasted by some amazing people. They source their coffee directly from small batch farmers from all around the world. And all this is dedicated to supplying jobs to those with autism and other disabilities. So with the 3 different brewing processes, we're going to get widely different flavors. So with the pour over, we're going to see a little bit more of those bright notes come through. With the Chemex, we're going to get more of a lighter, balanced cup of coffee because those bright notes really toned down along with those bitter notes as well. And then the French press cup of coffee, we get a balanced cup of coffee, but it's going to be on a more intense flavor scale because we're getting more of those sediments and more of those oils. I'm going to grab some more water. I'll be right back, you guys. All right, perfect. And so when you're brewing coffee, depending on the brew method, you want to make sure that you brew your coffee correctly. And so when I mean correctly, I mean by proportion, grind, and freshness. So and then that could be a lot too, because with each 3 of these different methods, we get a different grind setting. So with the paper filter, we have the finest of the grind. Then this is going to be like a medium coarser grind. And then this is going to be the coarsest of the grind. And then they all get a different amount of water and a different amount of um, uh, water and a different amount of grind as well. So you're going to weigh out a different amount of grind, different amount of water. So then for a 16-ounce cup of coffee, we have 30 grams of medium ground coffee. And then for the Chemex, we have 45 grams of medium coarse ground coffee. And then for the French press, we have 56 grams of really coarse coffee, or typically this French press setting, which most brewer grinders should have an actual French press setting for their grind setting. And so none of these coffees technically have more caffeine than the other. So if you were to portion all these out into, say, like a 16-ounce cup of coffee, this one you don't need to portion it out because it's already the 16 ounce. But if you were to pour yourself a 16-ounce cup of coffee from this and a 16-ounce cup of coffee from the Chemex, they're all going to have the same amount of caffeine. It's just going to be different flavor-wise. The only reason why you might get more jittery when drinking a French press versus a pour over is because a French press can be two pour overs because the amount of water and the amount of grind that's going into it, it ends up being 2 cups. And then the same with the Chemex. We're ultimately drinking more coffee because we're brewing more, while the pour over here is a little bit less coffee because it's just a single cup of 16 ounces. And so when you do the pour over and the Chemex, one of the things you want to do in the very beginning of your pour is you just want to pour a little bit of the water and you want to let it bloom. Letting it bloom is letting the air out underneath the grinds. So when you have the grinds in the paper filter, there's air in between each of the individual grains of coffee. And when you pour water on top of it, it compacts that air together. And if you pour all your water at once, that air that gets compacted together within the grinds gets trapped underneath the water. And so what's happened is you kind of have this barrier of air stopping the water from passing through your grinds, and it slows down the brewing process. And when you slow down the brewing process, you're actually over steeping your coffee. And when you over steep or over brew your coffee, it's going to impact the flavor in a negative way. We're going to end up with a flavor that's too bitter. So when you brew a pour over and a Chemex, you typically want it to run around 2 to 3 minutes, or well, 2.5 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes is a little too quick. All right, so while we wait for that Chemex to finish brewing, we are going to go ahead and taste the pour over. So with the pour over, we're going to see a little bit more of the bright notes come through. And with the bright notes, we're going to see some of those strawberry notes. So with this, it's going to be primarily the strawberry notes with a little bit of milk chocolate finish. And it's important to remember when we say strawberry notes, it doesn't necessarily mean it actually tastes like strawberry. It's those bright citrusy notes that you get when you bite into a strawberry. That is what we're tasting in the coffee, not actual strawberry flavor, just the bright notes you get with strawberry. So we're definitely getting like a mild brightness on the sides of our tongue. This is a really good cup of coffee. Bali Blue, you guys, by Able Roasters. If you guys can, go ahead and support them. Buy a bag. They even have a spot on their page that you can donate and help them contribute to providing jobs to the people with autism and disabilities. Is super important, you guys. Very awesome that they're able to do this. Very impactful. This cup of coffee on the pour over. This is actually one of my favorite coffees I've ever done on the pour over because typically when we do the pour over, the bright citrusy notes that we find in coffee come out so much, or the bright spicy notes as well come out so much that I typically tend to lean towards the French press because I like more of those bitter notes to come out in my coffee. But this one, because it's like strawberry is like a subtle citrus flavor, it's not like as bright as like a orange or a lemon. So we're getting those subtle citrus flavors. It's not too intense. Even on a pour over, it's very mellow. And then we're getting those milk chocolate finish. It's a really really good cup of coffee. I really like the that on the pour over. That's a really good cup of coffee, and it's almost like a dinner feel to it. Like that would be a great coffee to drink for a dinner. Just because it's very well rounded and it's got a nice smooth mellow brightness to it. All right, so now we're going to try it on the Chemex. With the Chemex, we're going to get a much smoother cup of coffee, much cleaner. The reason why we get a much smoother, cleaner cup of coffee is because of the triple paper filter. And the triple paper filter is going to block more of those oils and more of the sediments from getting through, so we're catching those. And so we're going to end up with a cleaner cup of coffee. So it's going to be much smoother and much more tame in flavor. So we're going to go ahead and smell this. Very smooth. What I'm mainly getting off the scent of the coffee with the Chemex is just like a nice smooth milk chocolate flavor. That is it. We're just getting some slight bitters. Wow, that is really light. That would make for a really good iced coffee because you get those almost summer notes, and that's probably where the strawberry comes in. The flavors that I'm getting almost reminds me of like an iced coffee you drink in the summertime. Definitely that really good. Nice and mellow. Definitely don't need any cream or sugar at all on the Chemex for this one at all. This is like very smooth. Surprisingly smooth. That is really good. Hats off to Able Roasters for making such an amazing blend of coffee. Bali Blue, if you guys want to purchase it on their website. And then, just so you guys know, all the purchases made through them help people with autism and disabilities. So, not only are you tasting an amazing cup of coffee, but you are helping out people who really need that extra care to learn and thrive in certain environments, and to learn that we're able to provide the setting for people to adapt and learn some of the things that you wouldn't necessarily get to learn is just amazing. The fact that some of these people can learn latte art and other things, it just goes to show that they're just as capable as the rest of us. Uh, just given the given scenario and setting, um, giving them the ability to thrive and learn. So super impactful. I love it. I'm all about it. It's definitely an inspiration to me to see a coffee company out there like this that's doing amazing things to help people out that can't necessarily do those things in the norm setting. So now we're going to taste the French press. With the French press, we're going to get more of those sediments and more of the oils. And because we're getting more sediments and more oils, we're going to get a more intense, bitter cup of coffee. So those milk chocolate notes are definitely going to come forward. I'm actually kind of hoping those bright strawberry notes come forward in this as well, because if they do, this would make like a really good like brew a French press and put it in the fridge and then let it become an iced French press over time. Oh yeah. So immediately right off the bat, we're getting those subtle strawberry bright notes, and then it's immediately washed away with that milk chocolate mouth finish, and then it clears really quickly. So right now, I just drank my little sip of coffee, let it wash over my tongue, and then right now, what I'm feeling right now is pretty much almost nothing. I have a little bit of a bitter mouthfeel towards the center of my tongue, but it's almost non-existent, and it's very pleasant because you don't have to worry about pairing your coffee with a food. So say if you're out there and you are drinking like this as an iced coffee and you don't have any food to pair with, You just have your iced coffee and you're sitting by the pool. You don't have to worry about having that unpleasant, like maybe dry mouth feeling that you would with other iced coffees, because with iced coffee you tend to go for those bright citrusy notes. With this one we get those bright citrusy notes, but it's nice and mellow, so it doesn't attach to the tongue, doesn't leave you with a dry mouth feeling, and it's very smooth, really really good. I imagine as it gets colder and it's being poured over ice, those mellow strawberry notes start to come out a little bit more with that ice snap that you get. Really, really good. You definitely get like a really rich milk chocolate finish towards the end on the French press, and that's because of those sediments that we're getting. And so that is Bali Blue, you guys. A coffee made by Able Roasters. They are dedicated to supplying jobs to those with autism and disabilities. And so now we're going to get into a little bit about them as a company and what they do. And we're going to cut over to a video that they have that's dedicated to their company.
At first glance, Able Coffee Roasters might seem like a normal coffee shop. But behind the long lines, social media posts, and delicious coffee, Able Coffee Roasters is brewing something truly special.
Dio and I actually met in the school setting in Irvine School District. I currently still do teach at Woodbridge High School. I teach the autism program there. That's where we started wanting to create more vocational opportunities for our students.
The unemployment rate for adults with disabilities is 80%, and with the current pandemic, these numbers are only rising.
We saw it firsthand as special educators at the high school level, because we saw that our students were not getting the jobs that we were trying to prepare them for. And it was incredibly frustrating, and so we really wanted to create the opportunity ourselves.
Despite having zero prior business experience, Anthony and Adil took their love for coffee and passion for their students to begin the first specialty coffee shop in Orange County that hires people with disabilities.
One of our workers who helps us out throughout the week now, he actually lives in this building. We would just see him kind of like walking outside, started talking to him. He's never worked, he's never had a job, but he was very interested in having social practice skills and coming and talking to people.
My favorite is talk to customer and see my neighbor who taste some food and coffee in Able Coffee.
The cool thing about that is the residents that now live in the building that come here, they recognize him and they're like, oh, like we know this guy, like we've seen him for years, that he's lived in this building, and that's so cool that now he's working here with you guys.
The employees are not the only ones who are benefiting. Able Coffee Roasters has become a place of community that brings hope to people like Katrina Santana and her son.
Well, as we grow and as things change with his autism, it looks different, as he gets older. So that leaves me wondering, where will he fit in? That totally is always a worry and a concern. So places like this for employment, I feel like that's going to be the place.
We believe there's a job for everybody, and everybody is able. Just seeing them thrive, if you give them a chance and they're able to thrive, oh, it's amazing.
I hope that you guys are inspired by this coffee tasting and by Able Roasters like I am, to the point to where, you just want to kind of pay tribute to this kind of company and maybe even buy a bag of coffee or donate to this particular company to help them grow and create more jobs and more environments for people with autism and disabilities. Super awesome. I want to thank everyone for joining me in today's coffee tasting. This has been one of my favorite coffee tastings yet, just because of the impact and meaning that it has for those who just don't have the opportunities like the rest of us. If you guys enjoyed today's coffee tasting, go ahead and hit the link down below. That's going to be a list of coffee tastings that I've done in the past. The link above is just a video that YouTube thinks that you might like. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.